Okay, so you're at the crossroads of, hey man, we're gonna need some capital to make this ship keep flying, because if we don't, we're gonna stall out. This is a very sensitive place for artists to be. You need an advance on something. You don't need six figures, but you need a hot five. And that hot five could be anywhere upwards of 50 to 80 to 90,000, almost tapping that six figure, but you just need the cash to keep going so that you can pull more cash out of your operation if it's set up right. How are we going to handle this? Because artists do need advances, but sometimes we just don't need all of that cash to take all of our rights. So we got to decide the level and the speed at which we want to grow our operations further. With that, we're going to prepare our portfolio, or our music rather, and everything we have to shop for investors, okay? When we're doing that, there's some other things that have to be in place, and that's for another video, but we can go into more advanced topics later. However, we're going to have to start to pitch to these smaller distributors or these medium weight distributors out here. And then we're also going to have to find creative ways to raise capital in and of itself outside of getting the investors, maybe a little bit of crowdfunding, maybe a way to sell something to get some money in. Now, once all of this is done, we'll get that push that we need, the money to keep us afloat. Then we'll have the money to survive the exponential growth that we were expecting. We can also take that money to make other side investments that we can further funnel money into the operation to let it grow. Clearly, we need money to survive, and we don't want to be scared about letting our baby die. We made this thing, we grew this thing, and we needed to keep going. But you shouldn't have to decide between trading all of your rights away or just losing your business in general. That's why we're going to fix this. We're not going to stall out in this thing, okay? But if we get all this stuff together, then we will fly further for longer, okay? So therefore, my name is Casey Graham, and this is the Music Money Makeover Show. All right, everybody, welcome back to the Music Money Makeover Show. So let's hop right in. The first thing is we got to determine how fast do we want to grow so that we can get the capital or ask for the amount of capital we need. And when we're getting investments, we want to ask for a little bit more than what we actually need, but we want to do it in a way where we can pay it back, nicely. So check this out. We're either going to grow fast and lose our rights, which is where we're going to get our hot $250,000 from, and we're going to trade it for fame and leveraging the fan base. Now, I do want you to be mindful that if we're going to trade our rights for fame and leveraging the fan base, you better be a great leverager, okay? And the chances are, you got to understand, you're not going to have that fame or that fan base or that attention level forever. So you're going to have to do a lot of work with that. So you got to understand, the amount of attention that you have will decrease at a certain point to match the amount of money that your records are making. You have to determine how much of your rights, percentage-wise, you actually want to give up for the investment and for how long. This is a very key pivotal moment right here in your career. So I'm taking time with this video. I would really highly recommend that you stick and stay. Now, our other option here is to take the money at about $100,000 level, which is easily obtainable, that we can pay back, but it can fuel our operation. It's going to require that our team works a lot harder, right? But a little bit easier than they have been working. We won't be so strapped. We'll have enough cash to keep going, but we take this money, we give a little bit of our rights away for a short amount of time, and then from there we can funnel the cash into the operation to boost operations and maybe hire one or two people so that or subcontract few people so that we can push things forward, get more cash flowing into the business, and therefore when our contract runs out with the investor, we can get some of those rights back, and then we can eat longer for maybe for life or for just a extensive amount of time right here. This is what we're weighing, the big deal versus the little deal, and why we need this advance. Let's keep digging in. Stay for a minute now. Our last way is to get some creative capital going, right? Meaning that we're going to have to pull the cash out of the business. And in order to find this creative capital, you're going to have to start saving cash out of your operation early on in the process to fuel it, okay? Because if this isn't done properly, then you're not going to have enough to take you past the next point of saying, I need another advance, or hey, we got to go for an advance again. Let's try this thing again. All right. Most of that creative money, like I said, will come from the inside of your label. It will take you a longer time to grow, obviously. All right. But here's the thing. Like I said in the beginning, you don't want to stall out. That's what we don't want you to do. If you stall out, I'm sorry for adjusting my chair. If you stall out in this thing, then your career dies. That's the trade-off. So you're going to need some type of advance, some type of hot cash investment. Sometimes it may come from things as little as like your BMI account if you have one. Maybe you can borrow against your royalties with companies like TuneCore. Therefore, you don't have to take a lot of money, but it's more money to keep you going. You get what I'm saying? That's why we want to keep our music rights for investments like that. Now, if we're going to shop our portfolio to investors, we got to understand the value of a lot of things. I'm going to break it down. This video isn't short. You need to stay for this so you understand. Many of you all who get my 60-day record label book and then start to begin to build your record labels off of that, you will meet this point. Some of you are already there, so you know what I'm talking about. Let's dig into what we have to get together for our portfolio and how we need to understand the value that's in our portfolio. So now we got to understand the value of the masters and the publishing. The masters and the publishing will keep us afloat. It'll just keep that single line. It'll creep up in cash, even if it's doing $1 million in cash, which is, you're doing really good. But let's say your masters and your publishing is bringing you about $100,000, $125,000 in cash, or maybe $50,000 in cash for the year, okay? That's going to keep you afloat a little bit. But if you're doing that much cash flow on the masters themselves, then we got to look at another piece of value in our portfolio. That is your presence. Presence is what gains the attention. It lets you leverage that attention that you have. So if we can leverage that presence and we're making $50,000 in cash flow on our masters and publishing, then this is what you can start to make on your byproducts, meaning your merchandise or any endorsement deals that you could possibly do. That attention is something mean. That social presence is something mean, and you got to learn how to leverage that, okay? For all you managers, you need to know how to do this. Now let's look at the next piece of value inside of our portfolio here. Our e-commerce store. As I was mentioning just a hot second ago about the merch and a couple of other categories here, if the e-commerce store itself is doing $50,000, $60,000, $70,000, $100,000 in addition to the record label doing $50,000 a year, and you're doing $100,000 a year on merchandise, we can begin to now save our cash flow, some of that cash flow, to funnel back into the business, okay? And we can use some of that cash flow if you have some creative financial, friends around, to borrow against that cash, turning it into credit and other things like that to keep us going. Let's dig in some more into the value inside of our portfolio. Our email list and our customers. That email list is something golden, and keeping people abreast on what's going on with you outside of your social media is golden, all right? It's a direct contact into people's phones. Sometimes they don't see you online every day, but you can get directly to them if you need to have a flash sale, if you need to make an announcement about touring, anything, you name it. Having the email list is imperative, all right? Lastly, showing your hard ticket base to investors. If we take and we give all the metrics in this catalog to any investor and they look at it, then they can give us a loan against it at an interest rate that is very doable for us, okay? If they see that, hey, this business is operating, it is cash flowing and positive cash flowing, then I think that I could give them $100,000 and they could make my money back. Now, of course, you all, this is not for the small company that's just getting started. You don't need $100,000 if you're making $5,000 a month all around on your music. This ain't for you, but this is for the people who are just starting to go viral on a few of their records, or one of them that went so viral that now they need to ante up what they have going, okay? And for those of you all who are betting on your future with music, this is a great time to be watching this video. So now we got to approach some indie labels and record companies here. Take the meetings, because that way you can see what they can do for you and what they want to offer and how much you have to give up, and then you can weigh that against any independent investments out there. Even though you take these meetings, it doesn't mean you have to take the deal. You may wind up getting connections in the process, or if you hold off on a deal, you may get a better deal later down the line. Now, I do recommend this as a side note, to get an attorney, to check your attorney, all right? Because you want to make sure that you get the best deal possible. After all, we just did all of this building to get all this cash flow into the company, and we don't want to lose it all. Now, as if we weren't already talking about it the whole video, let's talk about some ways to raise the creative capital from our entire portfolio of things. If we leverage everything that we have, And here's my number. This is my number that I recommend that you all save out of your cash flow for further investment. At least 20%. At the very least 20%. But you really want to be operating on about 20% of your cash and not saving 20% of the cash. Because if you're saving 20% of cash, you're operating on 80%. You get what I'm saying? So you want to be able to grow it until you can turn that 20% over to where you're not operating on 80% of the cash, but you're operating on 20% of the cash. That's going to be your ultimate goal. That 80% is all in the business. You get what I mean? So we've got our masters in publishing. We got our e-commerce store. We got our name and likeness, if you will. We got our shows. We got the email list. We got the social following. We got our, you know what I mean? We got our presence, our attention right here. We have all of this to leverage. If we do something with this to leverage $100,000, it can totally be done. Now, it might not be done quickly, but if we start saving with that 20% to get to that point of $100,000, we can have this ready to go. If all this makes sense for you, I recommend you booking a call with me because as you can tell, I'm only just scratching the surface in this particular video, okay? Our whole point for this is to actually get the level and the growth of your label happening at a speed that you can maintain, and then we can inject some nitrous into this operation and get it going further without losing all of our rights. That's what we're beating the house with right here. And if you beat the house with this, you're gonna have a better relationship with your portfolio, which is necessary to understanding the power that you have inside. You'll have the confidence to approach indie record labels and do these deals. And then you will develop the ability to raise creative capital if you're more in tune with your business than just giving the business to any and everybody. You get what I'm saying? So let's decide the level of growth that we want. Let's prepare our portfolio to shop to these investors. And let's find these creative ways to raise capital. All right, book a call with me on musicmoneymakeover.com. Music Money Makers, if you make music, you should make money. I'll see you next time. Peace.